Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Scott from SCS. We're here to break down the Senior Bowl. It was a wild week in the 251. I was there from Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Zach from famously Garnet was there the whole week, and then Alec was in upstate New York the whole week. But we were all, tied in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, some of us more than others, but it was something crazy, like just to dive into. Obviously, last year when I went, I was just there for the Saturday game. I did not go for any of the practice. I went there for the practice this year. I went to the concert on Friday night, ended up spending the night partying out with this one, and then past all of that, it was just really fun. But yeah, let's dive head first into it. So this was the 2025 Senior Bowl. So first thing we're going to talk about, and sorry for the lack of graphics, yours truly has been in Mobile the last 72 hours, so I apologize. But we're going to talk about the practice first. And I just want to say the practice was very well done. I loved the film from it. Even the TV crew did a really good job. I think last year a downfall of it was the fact that the TV tape was kind of lackluster. And I don't mean it was terrible, but it was just like lacking of that of if you're trying to watch film for the 22 guys on the field rather than just one or two. But yeah. And we're gonna say our three winners from the whole week later on in the show. But I will say, in practice, Jalen Milrow had an up and down day, right? He had a lot. The long ball was there, but he struggled in that intermediate game. But I think he showed pocket presence, and I'll talk more about his actual in game more because I think that in game he was a lot better than he was in practice. But yeah. But Zach, we're gonna go with you first. So what were your thoughts on practice? Obviously, you're there all 3 days, and then plus the Friday. So, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you had a plethora of things to go through in practice. You had a guy like Higgins really open up and show what he's got and what he's made of. Honestly, a lot of people came into this one thinking there's a couple of guys that were going to lead at wide receiver, and Higgins was one of them. And Tez Johnson, my goodness, nobody could keep
Yeah.
up with Tez Johnson. Nobody. You put him on anybody you put on him, he was finding that separation and making the play. I mean, Tess Johnson was fantastic. I will say that as far as disappointment goes, Deion Walker from Kentucky, him hunting out the for the rest of the practice for day three practice and the game kind of surprised me a little bit because he absolutely got destroyed by Lampkin from UNC, which was really interesting to me, showing that he's a guy that obviously because of his size, he's very high pad level, right? Well, in this one, he wasn't able to get down low, and he showed it. And to me, I really felt like that hurt his draft stock a little bit. I'm saying he probably lost some money while he was out in Mobile. And
Yeah.
then you have winners like right. You got the kid from Marshall. Oh my goodness! And you guys love him. You'll talk about him here soon. The tight end Elijah Arroyo. Elijah
Oh yeah.
made some money out here in Mobile. He absolutely killed it. He looked fantastic. That's a guy that was catching anything, running his routes perfectly. I mean, you can't say enough about him. And then you look at some of your D2, D3 guys, right? You look at a guy like Jackson Slater from Sacramento State, a guy that really shoved it out here in Mobile, really showed what he's worth. So that is a guy I could see that he made some money out here as well. And then I came out here specifically to cover my guys, Kyle Kennard, Demetrius Knight Jr., and TJ Sanders for South Carolina. And Demetrius Knight, I would say, probably made the most out of this experience. I think that he really helped his draft stock out here. Not saying that TJ or Kyle didn't. TJ was really automatically saying that maybe late first, early second, kind of in there. And Kyle really to that second round because of how deep this defensive line class is. I mean, guys, this is the deepest defensive line class I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
And this is just everywhere you look, man. Everywhere you're looking, it's just insane. It's
Yeah.
insane. But it was a great few days of practice, man. It was a blast. The weather was perfect. You couldn't ask for better. It was a great time.
Yeah. And Alec, did you have any thoughts on practice? I know you're watching your Syracuse boys a little bit. I know I was gonna give you the softball with Mike Green, but like, who stood out to you during practice, and like, what else did you see?
Yeah, again, it is a little bit tougher, for me to follow along, just not being able to make it down to Mobile. I do want to talk about some of the Syracuse guys a little bit. LaQuinn Allen, I think he's a guy that in the back of my mind, like as Wendy declared, and at the end of the season, I thought, you know what, this guy might become like maybe a third round pick if everything goes according to plan, even with a really deep class, just because he's such a good receiving option. He's a good pass blocker. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he's a tough runner. He's a playmaker. And I kind of figured, oh, if he's going to have a good camp and he's going to start rising up boards, and he's been rising up a lot. People are starting to really love him. I think he showed a lot about what he can do. I know he tested very well. I think he has like 11-inch hands or something ridiculous. He really has a wide receiver body, and to an extent, wide receiver route running and wide receiver movement, all that. But he's playing running back. He's a tough runner. He's a very versatile prospect. He showed off a lot of that. And same goes for another versatile prospect from Syracuse, and Justin Barron. He started off his this season the same position he's played the last couple of years at safety. Ended up moving to linebacker. Originally started his career off as an athlete. Played, he came in being either a wide receiver or safety. So this is another guy that he can do a lot. I'm really not sure where he's going to project to the NFL. He kind of is in a spot where he's a little too big to play safety, a little too small to play linebacker, but I think he can carve out a pretty good role, guarding tight ends, guarding running backs is like maybe a third down linebacker or something like that. I think he showed about a lot of what he can do during the Senior Bowl. And one guy I want to talk about during the game, Seth Hennigan, 12 of 14, I want to say 132 yards and a touchdown. And if you look at anybody else during the Senior Bowl this year, and really most years, you don't have one guy that's just super efficient. You're playing with a bunch of new players for the first time. You're not running super complex schemes, whatever. Hennigan did something that a lot of people don't do during the Senior Bowl. He's a guy that he played a lot in Memphis. I'm really high on him. I think that he's gonna be a guy to watch as a little bit of a sleeper. I think he could have a pretty good combine as well. I'm sure he'll get invited and see what happens with him down the road.
Yeah, and I will say three guys. Well, I mean, touch more on Demetrius tonight, and then two more guys that I wanted to touch in more on as well. Mike Green, obviously, one. I don't want to call him a one-hit wonder because I think he'll have a lot more hits in the future. But practice-wise, literally made one highlight play. Was like, I'm good. I'm good. Shout out Larry Rudolph. He was working with the Senior Bowl this week. He ended up he posted that on their Senior Bowl IG account. I think that's up like 5 million views at this point. And then on his own page, it's up to like 500,000. But yeah, on Twitter, that is. But yeah, but that was a crazy play. He just, straight bull rush. And I know some of like the real, real tough and rough, analysts are like, hey, he just bull rushed him. That's simple. But when the kid from Marshall puts the kid from Oregon on his butt, I think just in general, if they're competing, most people would say that's impressive. And I think the fact that if you look at their draft grades or their draft grades before this week, and then you took a peek at that too, like, I don't know. Shout out the Sun Belt. But yeah, and then two guys that I'm going to compare to one NFL player because I think that we're going to see more and more of these speed linebacker types. Both Demetrius Knight and Shamar James. Shamar James of Faith Academy in Mobile out of Florida. But both of them, they would get like a Devin Lloyd comp from me, like a very, very versatile, almost like a joker linebacker, right? They can cover really well. I think Demetrius gives you more like a box safety look almost, right? He's a lot better in run support, a lot better pursuing the ball. But Shamar in practice and the game, there's two players were outrunning Shamar. It was Trevor Etienne and then RJ Harvey kind of, but outside of the running backs, those were the only two, and I think it's because of the way that those two running backs can just turn on to dime, like they were literally planting their foot and running the other way. Um, but yeah, but both of those guys were the only two. But I'm like, hey, if you're out there covering 17 guys and only two people even have a chance of getting open, like pretty good day. But yeah, and Demetrius, I thought he had a great game too. And I will say two other guys. Well, I mean, really, the entire SEC interior defensive line when it came to practice looked like insane. And they did pretty well in the game. We'll talk more about that in a second. But like Cam Jackson, who I believe suited up but didn't play in the game, something like that. I saw him like run out, and then I didn't see him ever play, and I didn't see him after the game. But or I might have saw a different Florida guy run out. But um, Cam Jackson, he had a pretty good week of practice. Walter Nolan, great week of practice. Princey Umunuwalen, God, I can't say that last name. Also a great week of practice. But yeah, but basically, if you're an SEC defensive player this week, you probably had a good week. But yeah. So let's change the color from orange to brown, indicating for me that we are on a new topic. So now let's talk more about the game. The first half, it was really like a feeler, you know. I will say, before I'll let Alec talk, the overall production of the Senior Bowl this year was perfect. It was beautiful, right? I did not understand why I was on the other side of the stadium, but we had all the people in the dresses that were there. I should probably know that. Maybe Zach will know that when he talks. But yeah, but all the people in the dresses were there. We had the flyover. We had the people, like the mic kept failing, so the people started singing. But it was a great little entrance encore. They announced all the starters for both teams. And it was so funny to me because it was like I think Shamar and Riley had louder yells than literally anyone, right? Which makes sense. Riley's from Fairhope, but Mobile's kind of come up for him. Shamar is also from Faith Academy in Mobile, literally like 3 minutes down the road from Hancock Whitney. But yeah, but essentially, Alec, so for the first half of the game, did you have any thoughts on it? And then we'll bounce it back to Zach.
Look, Scott, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I was not able to watch any of the Senior Bowl, like the actual broadcast of it. I did see a couple
Okay.
clips, couple highlights, but can't tell you anything about the game and the broadcast. And yeah, I apologize about that.
You could. Okay, so Zach, what was your thoughts on the first half?
Yeah, I mean the first half very back and forth, very back and forth. There was a controversial call though that went the national team's way, and it was a catch by the wide receiver out of Georgia, Arian Smith, and
Yeah,
that look, man, I don't understand why replay is not at the Senior Bowl if we're going by NFL rules and
replays
doing
for
this, that,
sure.
and the third. You got to add the replay. I mean, his knee was completely down. There's no question. Like, no overdoing. I mean, I feel bad for Arian. I really do. That's a guy that did not have the best season at Georgia this year. Dropped a lot of footballs, and he made some really good plays in this one. And he looked pretty good in practice for the most part. Had a couple drops, but that is a guy that probably could have used that for his motivation and whatnot. But I will say this overall, it was great. Like I said, very back and forth. To answer your question about that, about the dresses, they're actually what they're called azalea trail maids. So it's part of that southern tradition that they do in Mobile. That's what they do it every year apparently, and it's pretty cool. I mean, it's southern tradition. You keep it alive, and definitely interesting for sure. I mean, I can't imagine those poor girls. It was hotter last year at the Senior Bowl, so I kind of want to know, man, how hot is it wearing that thing? Because I feel for him, man. 'Cause good, God bless him.
Yeah,
Zach, could you call it a Southern charm, actually?
Yeah, you can say that. They call it the Southern antebellum era kind of things. What they like to, I guess, really call it. But yeah. It's
right.
either way, like I said, it was a great time. I will say my one disappointment also is that they fed us in the press box, and apparently Mobile, as I found out on Saturday, is tomato-based barbecue, and I just can't rock with that, guys. I'm sorry, tomato-based is just not my thing.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so it's because when I went to the Belt, they did have multiple types of based barbecue, right? Because you're looking for vinegar based, correct? Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when I went to the Belt, they had multiple types of barbecue. but that was because they had Sonny's there, which is a Florida-based chain. They don't have vinegar, but they had like other different, people there. So there, and the only reason I know that there was vinegar is because I hate vinegar, and then all of a sudden I smell it, like, ah. Anyways, but so yeah, so at certain events in Hancock Whitney, they do have that. But yeah, but first half wise, it was kind of a feeler type thing, right? I don't think there was anything that crazy. But yeah, but that was basically the first half. I will say that the fans were into it the whole time. I will give that to them. No matter which team it was, I think they got loud at the right moments. They popped quite a bit. I think it made like all the content I saw from the field was great. But yeah, but I have more takes for the second half, so I'm gonna quickly go to the second half. But yeah, so the second half, so Jalen Milroe came in. I believe was Riley on the other side for this one. I believe so in the second half. Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, so this was when more things started to happen. I will say it was weird for me because they didn't really switch up the skill guys. They just switched up the quarterbacks. I think last year, I think there was a little bit more of the skill guys switching up too. But yeah,
Hmm.
and I will say RJ Harvey did break a few. Jack Besh already. He also had quite a few plays in the second half. Obviously, he also had that huge play in the first. And but for me, the best part of the second half was that they were trying every single drive. Like they wanted touchdowns every single drive. Now, I understand why they went for the touchdown at the end. I know this is like fanatical moment and everything. They obviously I don't think they wanted overtime because they were already, their TV time was already up or whatever. But the fact
Hmm.
that it went from like the one team was so far down and everything, right? Or they weren't so far down, but like they were just in the rut. They were trying to get up, and then they get a little gain here, a little gain there, a little gain there. And I know on the WNSP radio call, they talked about the 7 seconds on the clock, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do it." And yes, Twitter. There was like 1 second on the clock when he got in the end zone, but no, we are not. That is not our reality. The clock went to zero. It was a walk-off touchdown. Okay, okay. Because yeah, on Twitter I saw the whole time it was like everyone's like, "Oh, there's 1 second left. There's 1 second left." I'm like, you hate life. Okay, like just have fun. Let it go. It doesn't really matter. Like on your headstone there is not 2025 Senior Bowl champion. There's 2025 Senior Bowl, like attendee or whatever, but not 2025 Senior Bowl champion. It's not life or death. But yes, they're anyways. I like it was like 11 o'clock at night that day. There was like people like arguing about whether there was whatever. But yeah, but Jack Vesh he did get off, and I will say we'll just jump right into the post game, and I'll let Zach if you had anything to say on the second quarter as well. But I will say post game wise, this year was a lot better than last year. There was a lot more. It felt more like a post game, like a regular collegiate or high school or even a pro post game, because the media gets to meander around the field. The players are in interviews. The players are taking little like selfies and stuff. They're in the crowd. Last year that did happen, but it happened for like 2 minutes and they sent all the kids in, right? And then they did come back out, I'm pretty sure, and I could be slightly wrong, a year of memory, I apologize, but this year, fire. I got to take so many pictures, as I'm sure that Garnet knows very well and Al knows very well. I think I've tagged them in like 10 posts, and it's only Monday night. But yeah, it was very cool to know. And I think I was like one of the last 40 people to be there because I was just like outside in the gravel, just walking around, taking pictures of people as they walked out. I think it was Dark and Besh were the last two to walk out. And when Dart left, everybody but these people that were in LSU jerseys and an assortment of TCU gear. The reason the LSU jerseys were there, he played at St. Thomas More in Louisiana. So all of his high school buddies who were there, probably LSU fans, I would assume. But there was a few TCU fans, I assume, friends, family, that kind of thing. But yeah, they were all there. I got a little clip of him walking to the family. And hey, I will say, Bolo, I'll probably send this, like, I'll probably post this part just by itself. But there was a guy, and I'll probably, like, put his picture, like, right there or something if I edit this. And he was in an blue Under Armour shirt. He was probably a family member, if I had to guess, but I couldn't find anything on the Instagram. But the guy was like, he had the trophy in his hand. It was like, hey, take a picture of the trophy with him in the background. I was like, oh my God, you're a genius, dude. So I got a picture of the trophy with him in the background, but I'm trying to find the guy because the guy, I have a picture of him with the little trophy up. Anyways, but yeah, but if y'all know him, be sure to let him reach out. But yeah, Zach, did you have any thoughts on the second half and post game?
Yeah, I mean, well, as far as the second half goes, there's a lot of continuing the back and forth. And I mean, how could you not love what Jack Best did in this one? Not only be able to show his ability of high pointing the ball. I mean, from a pass from Jalen Milrow, that yeah, look, it was a good pass for the most part, but also seeing the play that Jack Best made out of it was even better. That is the guy that really showed up just throughout practice, but in the Senior Bowl as well. So yeah, that was great to see. The trickeration, the trickeration on this one was fantastic. That put the fans in the seats, right? You know what I mean? So that was great to see. I know that Auburn fans love seeing what they got out of Jarquez Hunter in this one. They did get about 30 or 40 yards from him in this game, which is great. I know they were excited about that. And, Alec had already talked about it with Seth Hennigan, though, man. I really enjoyed what he did in this game. And not only in this game, but also in the presser.
Yeah.
That is a guy that has a chip on his shoulder, and he's making it known. He made it known. He's like, look, he said, I got invited to this, to the Senior Bowl. I'm here to win, and we did that. And I'm telling you right now, I'm going to perform on the next level.
Yeah.
And to have that mentality, right? To have that mentality, because you're coming in against some big names, man. You're going against Riley Leonard, Jalen Milrow, Jackson Dart. I mean, these are the guys that are on your team that you're on the same team with. It was impressive to me. It absolutely was.
Yeah.
I feel overall, man, like Seth Hennigan had a better week in general than a Dylan Gabriel per se. I think Dylan Gabriel looked rough out there, man. I will say that he could not handle the snaps during practice. He showed that. He showed his accuracy was off. So you had some guys that did really well in this game that well in the practice that really led up to this game that showed out. And like I said, that how could you not love the moment Jack Best with 7 seconds left and his presser? It's in these environments you have to act professional and you have to sit there and just kind of absorb everything without any emotion. But when Jack Best was talking about the moment itself, I mean, I had to do everything in my power to hold back any kind of tears because, man, like that gets you. That absolutely gets you. And I love that moment for him. I love that moment for his family. They needed that, as he stated during the presser. And so hopefully he has a brilliant career in the NFL. I think he's a guy that can contribute out there. I really do. I think he's one of those guys that will have a potential career in the NFL. I will say this too: a couple guys that did earn their means in this one. Landon Jackson from Arkansas.
Yeah.
I think he did well. I think he did really well in this one. And then Femi Oladeju from UCLA or Cal, one of those schools.
UCLA.
Yeah, UCLA. That's a guy that also earned some money in this game. So it was great. It was great because a lot of these, the Senior Bowl, it's hard to take away from itself in the game itself because there are many kids that have opted out. But I still feel like you got a lot from this one. But I will say that's the most I've seen out of opt-outs. That is the most I've seen.
Yeah. I also think it was a factor of like a lot of these teams playing more games than usual. And also like there was some of these guys who were like I think every single player played at least 13 games of like the at least the P4 guys especially. But
Yeah.
when you're playing that many, that many of everything, then you're starting to thank you. Then you're starting to just like get worn down. Like that's what I was saying about Arn, right? I'm like Miller only played 13 games, right? But he got roughed up in all of them, right? And then Leonard played 16, and then you're going through, and then you're like, Howard, or not Howard, Gabriel played, how many was that? 14, right? And
14, yeah.
then Hennigan only played 13, but then you're just
Yep.
going back and forth. So it's so funny. And I will say one final comment. Um, I'm forgetting his name, but I'll be making a post about him tomorrow. But shout out, I'll figure this out in 2 seconds. Hold on, fellas. But there was a Gainesville reporter who his dad, they ended up having like six of these, and he ended up giving me one, and I will feel like incredibly bad if I do not get his name right. So that's why I'm killing time by trying to make sure that I get his name. Pat O'Donnell, the digital content producer from WKRG. Oh no, this is WKRG out of Mobile, Alabama. For some reason, I thought Gainesville was involved with it. But yeah, but he gave me this little Dak Prescott shout out your dad, Pat. Pat, I'll be making a little post of you today, or well, yeah, it'll be today by the time this posts. It'll be because it'll be um tomorrow. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, and this is actually like really nice. I know he has that one over there has a Najee Harris, but yeah, but you can see it's actually like a really nice. It's screen printed. But yeah, and the face, it's okay. It kind of looks like Dak in college. It's a little bit more like Dak in Cowboys. Sorry, Dak, but yeah, but it's a pretty nice little gift, right? Especially since they're giving away for free. I'm pretty sure. I hope so
Yep.
because he gave it to me for free, so I feel bad if he paid for it. But yeah, shout out him. And yeah, and I will say one other thing. I did have one more thing to comment on the Senior Bowl with the we talk about how sports just went absolutely wild on this. I'm totally blanking. Hold on. I'll remember it in a minute. If I don't remember it, I'll just cut and I'll be like, okay, we'll just talk about how sports went crazy. And if I remember it, I'll remember it at the end. But yeah, so essentially, sports went crazy, right? So about 11 o'clock, 11:30-ish Central Time, I believe, on Saturday night, or I shouldn't say LeBron Luca, the Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis trade hit like midnight that night. I think it was that night, or it might have been on Friday night, whatever. Whichever night it was really weird because like I was like in the middle of Senior Bowl posting and someone was like, "Oh, check NBA Twitter." And like Mr. Moist Critical said, I thought it was fake. I thought it was NBA Centel, part of my French Ballsack Sports, or like one of these other ones where it's just like like something else. But no, I look at this, it's like real people, like Shams is on this, like all these like real accounts. I'm like, this can't be real. This can't be real. So then I end up going to bed thinking, nah, no way, no way. Because I didn't turn on ESPN or anything. I just went to bed. I wake up. Everybody's going crazy. There's like Mavs fans making these little rituals and start like like these little memorials outside the stadium. There's people that want Mark Cuban to sell the team. There's people that want the GM gone. And then the Lakers fans are in the same state of mind. Like there's some of them that are like, oh, we got Luka, but we lost like all this depth. What are we gonna do with the depth? They were like, we literally traded Anthony Davis for all of our bench, and then all of a sudden we trade Anthony Davis, and then we get even less bench. So who knows? But yeah, but Alec was there, and then also we got the Miles Garrett trade news. Now that was more this morning, last night, or 2 nights ago for y'all. But yeah, but it's just been a wild 2 weeks. Obviously, we're in Super Bowl week now. Shout out the Pro Bowl. Logan Cook went crazy. The NFC dominated the AFC, but Logan Cook went crazy. Anyways, but Alec, do you have anything about sports in a nutshell? Alec, you're muted.
Am I muted now?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, my apologies there. Yeah, I know it's a football show. Don't talk about the NBA that much, but it's just such a big trade. We got to delve into it. Man,
Yeah,
when I first saw that trade, I was in absolute shock that the Mavs
yeah,
would trade their franchise cornerstone, the guy who was on pace to be their second best, if not their best player in franchise history, for an aging AD and only one first round pick. When you see a lot of these other trades, like Mikal Bridges, I think he got 4 or 5 first round picks out of it. Obviously, you don't have AD, but AD is not really worth 5 first round picks itself. Anyways, yeah, just there's rumors about the Mavs general manager. He only talked with Rob Pelinka, the Lakers GM, I believe.
Yeah.
He didn't shop Luka. Like if you're gonna trade him, at least shop him, and you could absolutely get a better value. I want to say the original offer included 2 first-round picks and it included Dalton Connect as well. That didn't turn out happening, but yeah, man, I would not want to be that Denver Mavericks GM. He is certainly hearing it from his fan base, and yeah, they got maybe 3 years to try and win it all. Does the Mavs, and if it doesn't happen, they really got to just tear it down and start all over. It'll be a long rebuild, and it's kind of crazy to see Luke on the Lakers now.
Yeah, and I will say just like I saw the Connect stuff too, and if they got him, I think that would have been like it would have settled some stuff, right? Because you're getting a rookie, you're getting a first round rookie, that kind of settles some stuff. I don't think the picks for me are never as big as I think, like in the NBA, because like you got to think about it this way, it's a top 60 player in that draft. But like, if you got a pick, like a first round pick from the Lakers, it's not a lottery pick, right? They're going to end up outside the lottery. They're going to end up in the playoffs or something like that, right? So you're looking at the 20th or 30th best player, right? And that might be good, that might be bad, but it's also depending on your draft and everything. So I think like having a player like Connect and like a player that's proved himself a little bit would have been better off. But yeah. But Zach, do you have anything to say about all the stuff?
It's a wild move, man.
Yeah.
It's a wild move that nobody saw coming, whether you're Dallas or LA or whoever in the NBA world. Nobody saw that. I mean, Luca for AD, and yeah, it's just wild. And Mav fans are extremely upset about this, as rightfully they should be. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you feel like Mark Cuban is a very successful businessman. He knows what he's been doing, and they've had success, with the Mavs. But I just it just doesn't make any sense. It's almost like no, like you said, it seemed like it was fake. It seemed like it was fake, and then
Yeah.
Sham started talking about it. Like, oh, okay, this is real. This is really happening. This is really happening. So yeah, it's just wild, man. Like to see that unfold. It's one of the weirdest trades that I can recall,
Yeah.
honestly. One of the craziest ones I've seen. So I don't know.
Yeah, and but I don't even know how to really one up that or anything. It was just insane. I know in other sports news, since we're on it, the Utah Hockey Club will probably have a name by the end of the week, or at least not for the rest of the season, but for next season. And then I'm just trying to think of anything else that really hit. Obviously, it's Super Bowl week. We will probably, okay, so National Signing Day is on Wednesday, Super Bowl's on Sunday. We will probably end up having 2 more episodes this time around. Zach, you are not obliged to, unless if you want to be on, you can totally come on and talk about National Signing Day. But me and Alec will be on. We should be able to get Joe on. Joe felt kind of sick today. He did miss out on the entire Senior Bowl week, sadly. Thoughts and prayers to him because he had the flu the first part of last week. But yeah, I will say shout out to him. He did give me a very lengthy draft guide type thing or Senior Bowl guide type thing that he had worked on himself. And honestly, I'll have to ask him, but I think I want to like just like upload that and kind of like hype him up because it was some great stuff and like having that under wraps or something. I get having under wraps when Senior Bowl was happening, but like you kind of want to show it off. I think even one of the guys that I met through Zach Vogel, Draft Vogel, he has a draft guide. And it looked huge whenever I was like looking at it when he was working on it in the stadium. But yeah, but like I would love to see that after the
Mm-hmm.
fact of just like hyping it up because I don't really have $60 to drop on a draft guide, but I know that plenty of people love that kind of thing. So yeah, but with all that being said, that's all from me. Mr. Alec, do you have any closing words?
Have a good night. Have a good afternoon. Have a good morning. Have a good rest of the day whenever you're watching.
Yeah, and then Zach, do you have any closing words?
Yeah, just real quick as far as NFL goes. I mean, The season's getting interesting. The off season, Cooper Cup came out today and said that the Rams are looking to trade him in the off season, and
Yeah.
the whole thing with Myles Garrett. So it's going to be interesting off season in the NFL, man. It's going to be really interesting off season for the NFL. A lot of teams are going to find some special pieces to either A, continue to make their way to the Super Bowl, or B, to get them back from a rebuild. So that's going to be interesting. But it's been I appreciate you guys having me on. It was a great week out in Mobile, and I'm looking forward to doing it again next season.
Yeah, and for sure. And honestly, I might even, depending on how things work out, I made some connections with players. I might end up like doing some interviews. So Zach, I might hit you up again and be like, hey, you want to join on this interview? But obviously that's like working it out with like some agents and stuff too. So yes, because beforehand there was a lot of like open ground of like them not being like, or them not necessarily being like tied up with an agent, or them being tied to an agent, but not like, but now like from here to the draft night, they're 100% locked in to, not do anything stupid. Everything has to be approved by that kind of thing. So on and so forth. Obviously, some of them will be playing, College Ball 25 on Twitch or something like that. But other than like casual type stuff, they'll be pretty locked away. But yeah, and I did want to say, speaking of the NFL going crazy, today, as of February 3rd, 2025, Tony Baselli, the executive vice president of your Jacksonville Jaguars. Pretty cool thing. Pretty cool thing. We've already brought Liam Cohen in as the head coach. The Italian guy from Green Bay as the DC. I apologize, brother, but I know your last name's Campanelli, but I don't want to say the full thing because I will somehow mess it up. But yeah, a huge staff coming in, and then it was either Shad or Tony Khan had brought in how they loved the way that the throwback uniforms looked, and they would be open to a potential primary uniform change in the future. So who knows? I don't think we'll ever go back to the old logo in full, but maybe we'll get like like a what do they call it? Reverse retro in the NHL, where it's like, the old, running Jaguar on the sleeve, but then it has the new logo or something. But yeah, anyways, that's all from me. That's all from them. That is Zach from at Famously Garnet on Twitter. Are you Famously Garnet on all other socials as well?
I am.
Yes, sir. And then that is Alec Nederveld. That is AlecNederveld
Got
on
it. Wow.
Instagram and Twitter. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But yeah, it was a great time. We are just over 35 minutes. 35 is usually our go-to. But yeah, I hope y'all all have a good day.